Welcome to the Undo podcast, where we rethink work, rest and play. I'm Dulcie.
And I'm Yemisi. Hi.
And we are here to have the conversations that don't happen enough about ambition, identity, rest, joy, and doing life on your terms. So if you are done shrinking, settling, or running on fumes, you are in the right place. Now, today, we're talking about putting yourself out there. So it sounds simple, yeah? Just put yourself out there until it's your turn to do it. So whether that means speaking up in a meeting, sharing your work, or just letting yourself be known, I think for so many of us, the act of being seen can feel a little bit terrifying. And so in this last episode of season 2 of the Undo podcast, we're going to be talking about visibility. Yes, the dreaded V word.
Hiss.
Boo. Well, we all turn into cats and vampires. Okay, so visibility. I feel like it's something that many of us have had bandied at us. You just need to be more visible.
Oh.
Sorry, I should have done a trigger warning there.
Trigger warning, please.
Yeah. But, you know, there's this thing about confidence, right? And this idea that to be confident means that you're not afraid. You're just confident. But that also being visible is often equated with like vanity or bragging. And we did talk a lot about this in season 1. We had an episode called Bragging Rights. Mm-hmm. And that's a great episode if you want to just get into more about like how to self-advocate. Yeah. But yeah, today I think it's important that we still bring up this topic of visibility. And I think especially as women, let alone any other minoritized group, we're often told you need to be more visible. But then when you are more visible, you open yourself up to judgment. And
it's a problem.
It's a problem, right? Suddenly you're intimidating. Oh, right. And so
they start looking for ways to try and cut you down.
Yes.
They start fault finding.
Poppy syndrome.
And they start, the little kind of skewering questions start and have you thought about this? And it becomes, it's just, yeah.
And so like in response to having to toe this really bloody tricky line of being seen but not being seen too much, a lot of people just shrink.
Yeah.
You know, we just silence ourselves. We just think, oh, forget it. Like, I don't have time for this. But, in order for us to live our lives fully and honestly, I do think it is important for us to be seen. And I don't say that to say that we all need to be running to the nearest TEDx stage, right? It's not about or writing those stupid missives on LinkedIn.
I was waiting for that. You threw me off with the TEDx. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
You came through, girl.
Listen,
yes.
Where there's a stray, there's LinkedIn, okay? Can you imagine if we come back for season 3 and the podcast is sponsored by LinkedIn? If that happens, everyone listening, mind your business. Okay? It's a fantastic platform for networking.
Call us. Oh my
god. So yeah, it'll be good just getting your thoughts around, this visibility challenge and your experience with it, and I just want to hear more from you about how you feel about visibility.
I think visibility, like many words that we've discussed on this podcast, has been bastardized by the mainstream or by the corporate world. It has been conflated with value. That's my biggest issue, is that visibility has been conflated with value. Where that is absolutely not true. Visibility can enhance value, but 100 times 0 is 0. Like you need something.
Yeah. Tell that to people posting on LinkedIn. Sorry.
Stray bullets flying everywhere. But like, but the problem is that visibility is rewarded. I was gonna say indiscriminately, but I don't think it's indiscriminately. It's rewarded when
For its
when
own
something,
sake.
yeah, for its own sake, and often for really, really stupid things or things that don't really make sense once you scratch under the surface. And so there's a message that is being sent that being visible, regardless of the content or regardless of the substance of what you're being visible about, is the way forward. And I'm of the opinion that visibility has to align with my values. The way I show up has to align with with my authentic self and what I actually value. And I've had to redefine that word visibility for myself in a way that it moves away from that very look at me at all costs, and looking at visibility as a tool to enhance the value that I'm bringing rather than as a requirement to show value. But that's the work like I had to do as a person, right? I'm not trying to change the world at this point. I'm just trying to be like, okay, how does this serve me? A tool that doesn't serve me is useless to me. And so I found that whereas before I was like going after visibility for visibility's sake or because I wanted something out of it, that it never really worked out. But when I was visible because of something I actually genuinely believed in and I was enthusiastic about, that's when, those positive things started coming. It was a byproduct of those things as opposed to the thing I was chasing, right? And so what I'm learning now is that, there are quite a few things that I need to be able to be visible in a way that aligns with my values. One, an environment that supports that. Many of us are not in environments that actually support authentic visibility that actually adds value and shows value.
Yeah.
And so I realized that, okay, if I'm not in that kind of environment, I'm wasting my time with visibility there. What other environments can I actually share what I'm passionate about, what I believe in, what I can get behind, in a way that exposes me to people who actually value those types of things and will not be threatened by it, if that makes sense. And that's kind of the journey I've been on, where I'm actually like really understanding what does visibility mean to me, and trying to heal from the trauma that people have, the way people have weaponized visibility in the workplace towards me, and just healing from that, and then saying to myself, okay, how can I reshape this in a way that actually serves me rather than serving other people's idea of me? So that's kind of where I've got to with that. Here's the thing, there's a difference between being humble and self-rejection, right? So some of the things that I thought, were me just being like, oh, it's no big deal. It's actually me self-rejecting, because I did a little not experiment, but like, like on Substack, I have a Substack newsletter. And I draw visuals. So I take a lot. See, I'm quite meticulous with my visuals. I'm not a perfectionist. I have visuals that are like not great, but generally speaking, I like them to look a certain way before I release them. There was this thing it wasn't even a visual. It was literally just like a little chart. Those diagrams, those flow diagrams. It was literally like a flow diagram, hastily drawn on my phone, really rubbish looking. But the message was quite like something I wanted to share about, the creative circle of life. The visual was terrible, in my opinion, but I wanted to share the message. That was the note that appealed to people the most. Like people really responded to that.
Why?
I was like, wait a minute. You don't like pretty things. So it was a lesson to me that the thing that I thought wasn't all that, it actually resonated the most with people. So but I shared it because I believed in the message more than the packaging. So a lot of times when we think we're being humble, we're looking at the packaging and we're not really focused on the message. But once you focus on the message, is it a message worth sharing? Then the hang-ups about visibility kind of drop aside, and how it doesn't have to be perfect. If it's something that you believe in and you feel like there's a benefit to sharing it, that comes through and people pick up on that. And it takes self-work. I think there's a lot of work to do internally. to really get to that point. And that's kind of my kind of 2 cents on that one.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I think there's so many interesting points you've raised there. It does take self-work and framing what it means for yourself. So I think a lot of the stuff most of us don't like is this very cringe, like empty platitudes, noise making, empty drums banging, just nonsense. It's noise making. We see it on Slack channels with all the toxic positivity and Teams channels. We see the guff that's all over LinkedIn. Another stray, make it a hat trick. So, we see so much of that stuff, and it is so off-putting to the great majority of us, right? To the point that we're like,
majority, actually.
Yeah, to the point that we're like, I don't even want to do this. Like, if that's what visibility means, no, thank you. But that isn't what visibility has to mean for everybody. And so, and I think we also see that stuff as these messages that are just broadcast. Whereas actually for you, visibility might be niching down, like, here, this is who I'm talking to. So thinking about your experience on Substack. First of all, you're on Substack, which is just right now, please stay that way, a channel just for deeper types of connection. It appeals to specific types of people. So you've already put your stuff in an environment where you're more likely to find people who would connect with your message. Hence, when you put something out there that isn't as polished as you would normally go with, it didn't matter, because the kind of people that are there, the mindset of the people that are on your platform or on the platform are far more interested in the what, right? They don't really care about the final polish. They actually care about the message. So the wonderful learning from that everyone can take from Yemi's experience here is it's about saying something that you care about, number one, and saying it to people who would also care about that thing. And that in itself that is where visibility, it's you move away from kind of the fear of rejection, and you actually move into the desire for connection.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't really know what I said. I just made it up, so I can't repeat it.
No. You move away from the fear of rejection, and you move towards the desire for connection. Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar. Yes.
A bar. So that's what I think. That's a really helpful way to think about what visibility can do for us, right? And actually then it's not about, let me showcase the last project I've done so that my manager ticks it off, and so that in my next performance review we can add that box. Oh, Dulcie's really visible now, shut up. Get lost. Actually, I'm not doing it for that.
It's Scooby-Doo, your manager.
Because honestly, like, it's such a stupid thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really it's a really wonderful thing when you start to completely reframe the usefulness of visibility in your own life. You made the point as well about what it does for you. It's not
what's in it for me.
What's in it for me? It's not. I'm not trying to raise the profile of my company. What?
She's not being snatched.
So I think, there's just so much when we start to think about visibility as an additive force in our personal lives and our own growth, it starts to change how it all feels, right? And then that fear that we have about waiting until we're ready starts to sort of be minimized, because we realize, I'm just in conversation with like-minded people. I'm not talking to the masses. I'm talking to the brilliant few who get it, right? And we talked again in season 1 about networking and all the and similar themes there of, you're not trying to make superficial connections with random assholes. You're actually trying to build deep and meaningful connections with people that you like, and that you want to be around, that you want to connect with. So I think, it's a similar sort of mindset. And I suppose it's at the heart of what we're talking with undo is undoing the received knowledge or the received wisdom. This is what visibility is, and actually doing something new and saying, no, this is what it is for me.
For me.
and this is how I'm going to use this thing to add value to my life.
Yes.
Now, listen, if your company gets some benefit from it, that's good for them.
That's wonderful.
Them.
That is wonderful.
That's
a side dish.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
It's not the main course.
And so then when we think about things like confidence, you don't need to be confident in order to be visible. You do probably need some courage, especially when you're starting, right?
Thank you.
Just do it. Just get out there. And it's always so much better than you think it's going to be. Listen, I have got into the place of writing a lot more. I've got my Substack. I write weekly articles and blogs.
I love your writing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I do receive messages about, there was one I wrote not long ago. I had a few people saying, the idea of you walking around in your Dulce's jelly heels and your Tammy Girl outfit is really making me laugh. And I was like, you sure it's that and not the bit where I then fell down? That was making me laugh. But yeah, it was really lovely to have those kind of messages come through. But if you went to go and look at it, there's nothing on there. Do you know what I mean? Like there isn't. There's a like from you, my sweet baby girl. But like there aren't, it's not, overflowing with replies and things like that. So you could take that to heart and be like, oh fuck, like no one's saying it. But I know people have read it because I can see the statistics. But I also know people, it's resonated, it's brought a smile, it's made them think. I know because a few people are telling me. So if a few people are telling me in messages, that means even more people.
Yes.
Right? But people by nature are all busy. People have things going on. So even when you start to put things out in the world, if you're putting it on platforms like Substack or LinkedIn or whatever, don't think because you're not getting responses that it's not landing. So don't allow that negative voice inside you to tell you nobody cares.
Yes.
And also, the only one that needs to care is you.
Exactly.
Okay? So it doesn't.
Do you like it?
Do you like
Sometimes
it?
I like my own stuff. I like, this is so good.
I was doing just before this call. I was on TikTok and I saw one of the Workwell videos. I was like, oh my god, this is so funny, and I like that. I nearly commented, and I remembered it's my own thing. I was like, no, let me not do that.
But yeah, like that is perfectly acceptable. Yeah, and you should like your stuff. You should like the things that you're putting out in the world.
I like it.
Yes.
So as long as you like it, that should be enough. It can feel like sometimes, especially if you're on that social media type thing, that you are talking into the void. But just know that you're not. It's been being seen. I've had LinkedIn. I write articles every week. And I will get a comment here and there, but I'm getting more messages. So again, it's not public, but I'm seeing more things come through. I'm getting people. I'm meeting strangers and them saying, "Oh, I read your thing on this and that."
That's the thing, right?
You don't know how far things go, so just start doing it, knowing that if the audience of one, that's yourself, likes it. You are not so unique that you are the only one who could possibly like that.
No.
All right?
Absolutely not, yeah.
And think about it like this. When I said about the desire of connection, this is so important. It's so easy when we are in our little bubbles to feel often that we are the only ones going through a thing, experiencing something with a particular perspective. And it can make us feel isolated. It can make us feel lonely. Sometimes when you share something, and you put it out into the world, listen, it could be a particular view on a very technical part of your industry, right? Or it could be a personal reflection on something more emotive, whatever it is. When you put it out there, you don't know that someone who's in the very same position as you with a very similar perspective as you, but is also feeling isolated and cut off, you don't know that could be a lifeline for that person.
Honestly.
And so if you have something to share it, because you could be helping another person who's a lot like you or who needs to hear what you say. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this is kind of, if you've been in that place of, I want to say, I don't know, nobody cares. As long as you care.
As long as you care, exactly.
Okay.
It's not nobody cares.
Nobody
cares.
Do you care?
Somebody cares. You are somebody.
You are somebody. So if you care, it matters. You never know, you might be helping somebody else. And then one final postscript before I get into research and insight. the as long as you care thing is vital. It's your first step. So here we go back to your manager. Hey, Dulcie, I just think, you're doing a really good job, but I just think that you need to be a bit more visible. What if you don't give a fuck about that thing? There's no harm in it, right? You might be working a job, and I'm talking about work, right?
Yes.
You might be working a job that you do your job. You're good at your job.
Yes.
But you don't necessarily care about the finer details of that job to the point that you want to go and be talking about it.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
There is no crime in that. Okay? There is nothing wrong with not really caring all that much about that thing.
Yes.
And so, and probably something to tackle at another point around, like, actually, do you know what? In summer school, which more to come at the end of the episode, I will be doing an episode on feedback. And so I think I will fold some of this into it, right? Sometimes when challenges like that arise of you should be more visible, you might want to find a way to say, I don't give a fuck about this. Well, obviously you're not going to say that.
In corporate speak, yeah.
In corporate speak, find a way of pushing back on that, because it isn't in your job description. Well, like, either not. Like, I'm here to do a job.
Yeah. Or it doesn't align with your personal values.
It doesn't align with your values. It's actually not where
I'm looking on the areas of personal development I'm looking at. It
doesn't involve me going to industry events. You don't want to go and do those things, right? You don't want to become a voice in your industry. You don't want, that isn't the thing you want to do. You're happy with your job. You're content with the thing that you're being paid to do, but that is a limit. That's not, you don't want to start doing extra because actually maybe you're just not passionate about it. And please, managers, please stop asking your people to become evangelists for your industry.
Hell no.
If somebody demonstrates a deep passion for it, support them, help grow their voice if that's what they want to be, a thought leader in the industry. That's wonderful. But stop trying to make every Tom, Dick and Harry in your company some sort of voice for the industry. That's stupid.
That's not a company, that's a cult.
Right. So just
FYI.
Stop it. Okay? Stop doing that. Stop asking for that. And when you are telling people things like, you need to be more visible, before you even say those words, what are you really talking about here? If you need them to speak up more in meetings because them not speaking up is allowing things to slip, say that thing.
Yes.
Right? If you need them to be more articulate, if you need them to be more proactive, say that. But this weird catch-all of, you need to be more visible, it's silly. Okay? One size fits all. If you know, you know. Don't piss me off, okay?
Villain mode activated.
So activated. But honestly, I mean, I am like ranting a little bit, but I just think there's visibility is weaponized in the weirdest ways at work at the moment, and it's not fair. So just know if you're asking for someone to be more visible, just unpack a little bit more what you really mean by that, and also understand what kind of person you're talking to. If they are a natural introvert, just be really conscious of these things, yeah? And if you've been asked to be more visible, you can also push back on, hey, what does that really mean? And then sit with, well, what am I actually comfortable with, right? And have open and honest conversations about that. Anywho, let's talk about research and insight.
Let's go.
So this is a really light touch here. We did a lot more research and insight stuff when we did the bragging episode. So you can go back. That was episode 6 of season 1. You can go back and listen to that. One of the things I talked about then was the spotlight effect. So Gilovich and a few other psychologists or scientists or whatever, they came up with this thing, and they basically say that we dramatically and drastically overestimate how much others notice or remember anything about us, whether it's our flaws. You know, where we might think people thought, wow, Dulcie really kicked ass today, she's phenomenal, wowee, what a girl. Or we think, Dulcie's so fucking stupid, what did she do on that stage? Mind you, they're not thinking about it. They're thinking, I wonder if they're going to have spaghetti on the menu in the cafe.
Like I'm so guilty of this thing, like
Right?
just over
Yeah.
thinking people's thoughts about me. You
And
know?
if you're thinking right now, Dulcie, you're a liar. People saw what I did. They saw how shit I was. Who was it? Do you remember the last time someone did something not particularly great or even pretty fantastic and that you cared about it for more than 10 minutes?
Nope.
Right. So, like, if you don't really care that much, why do you think other people... Babe, you're not that special, okay? They don't really care. So do whatever you need to do. If you do
what
something...
you need to do.
If you do something that goes well, awesome. If you do it and it goes badly, no one cares, you know? Like, just live your life. No one's bothered, all right?
Yeah.
Which hopefully is freeing of just knowing that people are not thinking that much about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that helps.
You're not Beyonce. Like.
You're not Beyonce, okay? And
Take that as a good thing.
Right? And even look at Beyonce, look at Taylor Swift, look at all these people, knowing full well that there are billions with a B, billions of people in the world who don't know them or anything they're doing. So as much as you might be like, right now, Cowboy Carter tour is happening, just finished up in London. It feels like that's everywhere, right? Oh my God, she's wearing these furry chaps and da-da-da. If I call my auntie and start talking to her about, did you see what Beyonce did at Cowboy Carter tour? She'd be like, girl, get off my phone.
Exactly. I didn't even know the tour was on until someone in my office told me.
You see right here? I've been inundated with visuals from it and thinking, oh man, I wish I'd gone. And I'm here recording a podcast with my best friend who's like, what tour?
I have not even seen it on my feed. Nowhere.
Right.
Nothing.
So there you go. So that right there, as someone as big as Beyonce, arguably the biggest music star in the world. Taylor Swift did her Eras tour, and I kept hearing about it breaking records. Girl, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what she wore. I don't know if she even came to the UK. I literally don't know anything about it because it's not in my. I don't know. It's not on my radar. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say that if these two examples of the biggest music stars in the world are flying under the radar of people, how much less you? Okay? So, yeah, I hope that then makes you feel a bit more like it doesn't matter, you know? So I'll say what I want to say.
Grasshopper.
Yeah, just go for it, right? There's no stakes here. Just do what you need to do. Don't try and say anything incendiary and like be weird and stuff, but just say what you want to say. And
if you're a listener of this show, you're not going to do that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just live your life, honey. And then the next bit of research and insight is from an article in Forbes, and it was a report that said something about visibility being a key factor in career advancement. And yet for many people, especially people from underrepresented groups, they hold back due to fear of judgment. This is, and again, we talk a lot more about this in bragging. We really went under the bonnet around what's holding us back, and we talked a lot about underrepresented groups and the things that kind of keep us self-censoring around visibility. But there is a reality about the way in which, especially in Western capitalist structures, advancement happens.
Yes.
And visibility is a key part of that.
Yes.
So if you are, and we had a dilemma. It might have been the first dilemma of the series. That guy that was in Michael, I think it was. He was
when he was speaking up in meeting. And then
right. And people were being weird and stuff. And one of the things that we said to him was, if you want to play the game, play it. But the first thing is to decide whether or not you want to play the game. And so it's the same thing here, right? And I have already said things like, if you're not interested, don't force yourself. That's all great. But if you are like, no, hun, I want to buy a house within zones 1 to 4 in London, and I want to.
I'm 50.
By the time I'm 50,
I want to retire.
I want to have a child. If you want
I can afford
to do it, and so I need this job and I need to progress somewhat. So if you're like, no, right now, I actually do want to play the game. Again, no judgment from me. We all do what we need to do to get where we want to get to. If you do feel like I need to play the game, definitely go back and listen to the bragging rights episode. Definitely take my course on Own Your Brilliance. But just be ready. It can be tiring, right? If your heart's not in it. But if you've decided to yourself, no, I want to do this thing, then there are things to do that we've talked about before. There are ways to play the game, but still play it in a way that feels somewhat sustainable, authentic for you, right? Don't self-sacrifice. Don't martyr yourself on the altar of visibility, because it won't work. It's not gonna register. It's not gonna what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to connect with anybody, and you're just being knackered.
You just end up being bitter and resentful.
Exactly. Sorry, I heard bitter and resentful, and I started thinking about myself.
I was thinking about me too.
Moment of silence there.
Self-reflection.
I love that we both were just like, So yeah, rounding that bit out there, I think then that visibility isn't about being loud. It's about being present. It's about being intentional, and it's about letting people see who you are. It's not just what you do, but it's who you are, what you care about, and why. And that's what people connect with. So I hope that all of this has helped people feel less uncomfortable with the V word. Let's move on to living proof.
I love living proof. Let's go.
So, living proof this week is a lady called Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
I love her. Fleabag.
Yes, Fleabag. So, before Fleabag won, and by the way, if anyone listening, I suspect that the Venn diagram between listeners of this podcast and watchers of Fleabag is a circle. So,
a perfect circle.
A perfect circle. And I've never really thought about that before until literally saying it, because I'm like, yeah, there's a weird alignment there. If you enjoyed Fleabag, you probably enjoy this.
And Fleabag is one of those things. Can I just quickly say is that where I is one of the few things I've watched where I have related in no way, shape, or form to the main character. Like there is nothing relatable about that person to me, and I still thoroughly enjoyed the story. That's a testament to that.
She's phenomenal, because honestly, it's the same. Like, I wouldn't make her choices, but I so understand them. I understand her. I like her. I can't get over when her sister got that haircut. Like, I cannot. It's like, you know, she went. Phoebe's a local girl for me. She went to a school not far from mine. Like, they were always our sort of competitors.
She seems to have that vibe, Like, you know,
West London girl.
But like, I don't know, there's an intelligence but doesn't take themselves too seriously type thing there.
And so there's this funny sort of, maybe it's like a local pride in her as well, where I'm like, go on, Phoebe.
London.
West London posh girls unite. But before Fleabag, you know, did what it did, it won all these Emmys and BAFTAs and just critical acclaim. Before all of that, Fleabag was this really raw one-woman show, and Phoebe performed it on at the Fringe Festival. When she did it, she talks back on it, and she, you know, performed this in this tiny little venue, and initially, and she wasn't sure that anybody would care. If you've watched Fleabag, you know that it's funny, but it's also dark.
Very dark and very raw.
Very raw, very messy. At points, really heartbreaking. And it's so personal. And people loved it because it was so real. Can you imagine if she allowed the fears that she had about people not caring about it to stop her from hitting that stage? Can you imagine what we would have missed out on as the viewing public, what she would have missed out on now as the Phoebe Waller-Bridge, right? If she allowed those fears to stop her, my goodness, what a tragedy that would have been, right? Exactly. She said that she was terrified to put herself on stage, not just because of the content, but because it was her. Unfiltered. Imagine the level of vulnerability and exposure. But even as she has become this global success, she has continued to talk about fear and being uncomfortable. One time she said this, she said, every time I'm about to put something out into the world, I want to hide under a duvet. But she does it anyway. And so what I think her story tells us is that being brave isn't about being fearless. It's about showing up and putting fear in the passenger seat. Okay,
Shit
so you
on fear.
shit on it. Okay, put fear in the passenger shit. So you don't need to be fearless to be powerful. You just need to keep turning up. Okay, don't wait for perfection. Don't wait. Just be honest. Be you. And show up, right?
Sometimes I put stuff up there and I do hide under my duvet. I just put it out there and I don't check my phone or anything for days.
I don't check a damn thing.
Like,
I don't know stats.
Yes.
Like every time you tell me how many listeners we've got on YouTube, I'm like, that's 9. I don't know. because I know the darkness that can take over if I start to obsess about things.
Agreed.
And so instead, I just listen to outtakes from the podcast and laugh my head off. Because that stuff, I'm sorry, listeners, but the things that you never get to hear. So funny.
One day.
Actually, never. Not trying to get cancelled out here.
We still want the sponsorships.
Like, imagine what we leave in. Can you imagine what we take out? Honey. So yeah, listen, guys, put yourself out there, and the right people, the ones who need to hear what you say, what you create, what you bring to the table, they will find you. Okay? Yes. They will. All right, so before we close things up, let's do a quick undo. Let's do a quick undo.
Let's do it.
Okay, so if you have been hiding your voice, your ideas, your beautiful truth, unlearn these things. Unlearn that being visible is the same as being arrogant. Unlearn that you'll be ready once you've fixed everything, once everything is perfect. We talked about perfectionism last season. Honey, there's no such thing. Just do it. Okay? And unlearn that other people are watching and judging you more than they are. They're not. They don't care. And if they care, they should mind their business anyway. Stalker.
Exactly. Get alive.
So get alive. So if you want to reflect on this a little bit more, just think about what parts of me want to be seen, but I'm a bit afraid of putting that out there. When did I first learn that it's safer for me to stay quiet? And is that lesson
that may
true?
Involve some therapy.
Listen, this is episode 10 of season 2. This makes it the 20th episode that we've done. Not one episode has yet passed without us telling you, get in therapy. Okay? If you haven't got it yet, you're hard-headed, because we say it again and again and again. Get in therapy. This entire podcast is sponsored by the concept of therapy.
Yes.
Okay? Get in it. Do it.
Get in it. Do it.
And also think about, what would I do if fear wasn't in charge?
Ooh, that's a good one. Make a list.
Make a list. What would I do? So yeah, it's not about being visible. Isn't about being a performer. It's just allowing yourself to take up more space. And then do something new. Just start small, but be real. Okay, so you could post something meaningful online. And again, let's go for the fourth bit of shade. You don't want to post all that crap on LinkedIn that you always see, all that rubbish, 4 words on a line, then another line with 2 words, then another line with an emoji. That's crap. Posting something on LinkedIn, for example, and I'm just using it because it's the channel that we often think about with work stuff. It doesn't mean you have to be there, but you might just see an article that you think is interesting and you post it up there and say, read this, think it's a really interesting take on, subject matter X, and thought I'd share it. That's it. That's part of being visible. And all you're doing is sharing something you thought was interesting. And more likely than not, someone else would think it's interesting too. And you brought it to somebody's attention that wouldn't have otherwise seen it. Well done. Great. There you go. And now you're in their mind as somebody who's interesting, who's interested
in what
they're interested in.
Yeah, exactly.
You've lit up a certain thing in their mind about you. And you haven't had to, you didn't write an article, you didn't do all this research. You just said, hey guys, this is cool. Great. Or it could be sending a DM to someone, something you see something that you're like, oh, hey, I think my friend Patrick is going to like this. Hey, I saw this thing, thought of you, thought I'd share it. Boom. Done. Right? It could be starting small, could mean you being in a meeting and actually saying that thing that you've been holding back and just saying it. You know, when you're just like, and then you decide not to say it. You don't take yourself off mute, you know? Take yourself off mute. Say the thing. Okay? And listen. No one might respond. It might be one of those lovely, delicious, awkward moments where people are like, okay. And they carry on. And that's okay because you said it. You said the thing you wanted to say.
You said what you said.
You said what you said. Okay? Come on, Nini. Or it could even be something even safer, right? If you are really starting small and there's a lot of fear within this for you, of telling a friend something that you're proud of. It's still part of visibility. If you say, hey, you know, catching up with a friend, I did this thing at work or in life or whatever, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed doing it.
See, for me, is updating my WhatsApp status. That's my small thing.
There you go. Right? So, like, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Don't think that you need to be, you know, like performing jazz hands. It's not that. No. It doesn't have to be that. I mean, listen, if that's you, do you, honey? But like, it doesn't have to be that. You don't have to go viral. You just need to be truthful and let them see you because you're wonderful and you deserve to be seen. So if you want to go deeper, read some books about this, here's a few ones that are worth reading. One is Presence by Amy Cuddy. She did a TED Talk ages ago, and that's where all this power pose stuff came from. And as usual, she talked about it and people took it too far. And then Theresa May did that awkward shit. And it was like, okay, talk about ruining, like pooing in the pool. But the book is actually quite good. The talk is good and the book is good, but genuinely how body language can relate to things like mindset and self-trust and like your body as a vehicle to take up more space and to feel more at ease and reduce fear. So it's well worth the read. A favorite of mine, a book called Feck Perfection, which I just love that anyway. I mean, that's great. By a guy called James Victor. It's really good. It's a series of little essays. Do you know when we went to the Luton Hoo Spa before the baby? I remember being on the train to see you and I was reading that book.
No.
Yes, I was reading it then, and like, it was just so wonderful. I was like, this is great stuff. In fact, it's time for a reread, and it's just a series of like reflections and little essays, and it's really about being bold and to stop chasing perfection and to share your truth. It doesn't matter how messy it is, right? Like it's good. It's easy, very, very easy read. Small book, well worth it. Nice. And the final one is Brave, Not Perfect. It's by Reshma Saujani, and it's all about letting go of the need to please so that you can start living more boldly, more truthfully, and just be more you, be more yourself.
I love it.
Yeah. So all of those, as usual, are in the library on the Workwell website, and all the links are in the show notes. And so for the last time this season, I think it's time for us to wrap it up.
Our season finale.
Season finale. Okay, so if this episode gave you the courage to show up more fully, we hope that you take that step, whatever it looks like for you. And if someone in your world is shrinking when they deserve to shine, please send this their way.
Yes, and with that is a wrap on season 2 of Undo. We've had real conversations, shared real tools, and hopefully sparked a few shifts for you, big or small. If you've got a few seconds, a 5-star rating or a quick review really helps us reach more people and keep those conversations going.
Indeed. Now, if you are looking for something to keep you going over summer, Undo Summer School is almost in session.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. It's a solo series from me while Yemi takes a well-earned break with her daughter over the summer holidays. I created it with the challenges that management have in mind, but really it's for anyone who wants to reset how they lead themselves, how they lead others, and also just how they think about the system that they are surrounded by. Yes. So the welcome episode, what would that be? What is that thing at uni? Induction. Yeah, there we go.
Induction week, yeah.
So induction happens on Thursday, the 17th of July, and classes start on Monday, the 21st of July. So it's going to be in this same feed. You don't need to go and subscribe or follow anything new. I'll be sharing a new lesson every week for 10 weeks. I'll be covering things like burnout, boundaries, feedback, delegation, even promotions. And really, it's all about the stuff that we talk about, how to build a career that actually works for you. Short episodes, but super practical. So just enough to tide you over for summer.
Love it. And with that, season 3 of the Undo podcast will be back in autumn. Until then, stay curious, stay kind to yourself. And remember, you don't have to do it like everyone else.
You sure don't.
Do you, boo.
Do you. Bye.
Bye.